Welcome to A View from the Top. I'm Robin Trimmingham of the Olderhood Group, and my guests today are Olderhood CEO Bill Story and the CEO of Marsh Commercial UK, Anthony Gruppo. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Robin. Great to be with you.
Hi there.
Well, I am so glad that we've got the time to have this chat today. There's been so much going on in the world, and our topic today is the current upheaval and changes in working life and how that's all making us think differently as leaders. So I know this is going to be a great conversation. Anthony, what would you say are the big things that leaders are learning about themselves and their company and their staff?
Yeah, so I think it's a time of incredible self-awareness. I think that we've seen with colleagues how creative, how diligent, and how passionate they are to be able to drive themselves through a crisis. So I think we always knew we had great people, but now we have great people who are stepping up in the greatest of adversity. So I think it's a self-awareness, it's a creativity, and it's the understanding that we're closer together and we can get through anything.
You know, they always say in a crisis, you find out who your friends are. And I would bet that in the working environment, there have been a few surprises as to who's really stepped up and been like flexible and adaptable and the go-to kind of person.
And I think that starts first with the culture of the organization, right? The first thing I'm concerned about is the safety and health of my colleagues and their families. So what we said at Marsh Commercial is that that's our first priority. So you decide how you're going to work. And we were fortunate, right? I serve as a servant leader and CEO as 2,700 colleagues across the UK in 60 different locations serving 200,000 clients. Wow. And within a matter of days, we were all working remotely. So if someone had said to me, "Hey, Anthony, you're going to have to in 3 days get 2,700 people working remotely."
I know.
But what had happened is that it proved that if you have the cultural mindset that says people can work from anywhere and you trust them and not micromanage and be a command and control, ego-driven leader, people will rise up and do the right thing.
Yeah, I think one of the points that we wanted to do this with you, Anthony, really was that on social media, for example, at the moment, we're seeing and reading, etc., a whole bunch of things about people who advise leaders. I mean, that could be coaches or whatever, and obviously I would put ourselves into that same bracket. And some of that advice is extremely good. I mean, we don't have a problem with that, but we thought it would be really useful to get, as Robin called it, a view from the top. What you as leader of a vast organization, we wanted to get your thoughts on that, because you will be, I would imagine at least, you would see things differently rather than, being a line worker. And I say that advisedly, but, so I think that was kind of part of the issue here, was to say, how do you see things? You're at the top, you're running an executive committee probably. What changes have you had to go through?
Yeah, no, so great question, Bill. Look, first of all, when we think about this from a leadership, we can't go into this with an attitude, especially in a pandemic or any diversity, thinking that we'll go back to how it was. Because when you do that, you set yourself up for failure, because you're solely disappointed and I've said to leaders, especially ones that think traditionally, we will never be like we used to. We've now created a new ecosystem where we have to think about working from anywhere. So an office becomes a place in the future of collaboration and training, and where teams have to gather. But what's the difference if you and Robin and I are meeting in a park to discuss a structure of a deal, or an office setting? So my first advice is that leaders cannot think like traditionalists anymore. We have to realize that we have to be fluid and functional and can work from anywhere, and look for that solution. And then you have a creative mindset and energy and passion, and you don't get crushed by this monster that hit the globe. You think, no, hang on. Why don't we see if we can rebuild our structure and actually recruit people differently and give them balance in their life?
Do you think that leaders now in this new environment, if you wish, do you think the leaders now are getting a better feel for the feelings of workers? Are they listening more to them? Are we being forced into making sure that we are listening? Because certainly when we're doing things like this, when we're doing remote meetings, there is a focus. I can see you, I can hear you, etc. I'm paying attention to your words. Whereas I think maybe sometimes, and I probably speak from some experience when I say this, sometimes in meetings, the physical get-together meeting, sometimes I think we can maybe nod off or something, or we just drift, we just sort of go away someplace. So do you think do you think we've got a better feel for their feelings?
Well, it's a very very good question. So I'm going to say it in a manner that I'll be direct on this. Regardless of the environment we work in, if you didn't care about people first as a servant leader, then it doesn't matter if it's on Zoom or in a boardroom, because you were in a command and control environment, your ego got in the way and you thought you were something special, and you weren't there to serve people, you were there to be served by people. So it doesn't matter what place, you're going to fail. So if all of a sudden now you're concerned about the feelings, people will see that as disingenuous and they believe that it won't survive. So you have to have a love of colleagues and their families, the communities, the constituents, the clients you serve, and say, you know what, I'm at the bottom here. I only rent my position to make it better for the next to occupy it. And then you can get closer, Bill, as you said. We are getting closer because look, we're right inside each other's homes, but more importantly, we're getting closer because we don't want anyone left out there. We got to be concerned about their well-being, their mental health status. So we have to continue to reach out. But if you're reaching out only for a sole purpose of profit and productivity, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed.
I think one of the interesting positive side effects of our situation is how much it has pushed people to really stretch themselves, to stretch their leadership skills, their interpersonal skills. You've mentioned servant leadership twice, and I have to tell you, at Olderhood, we are big believers in servant leadership. How are you employing servant leadership in your daily work to benefit the people who you interact with?
Yeah, so thanks, Robin. So there's two premises that come to mind right away. Whenever I'm faced with anything that has to be solved, I try not to look at it how it impacts me first, but how it impacts others that my decisions will be involved in, and then be collegial in those decisions. When you're serving 2,700 people, those decisions weigh heavily on you, because it impacts not just them, but their families. So it could be 10,000 individuals. So I try not to put myself into the agenda, because then you make decisions based on your own personal preference and how it can impact you. So the first key to servant leadership is to really take yourself out of it. The second thing is to really engage the ideas and observations and opinions of others around you. Now, I have to break the ties, and there are times I have to make the most difficult decision, but I don't do it in a vacuum based on my own experiences. And then I think others step up, they have a path to their own level of greatness, and you truly set a career path for others around you. I think that's the essence of servant leadership.
We've got about a minute left here. What is your one big key piece of advice for any leader who's watching this?
Yeah, try to constantly blend your personal passions with your professional. Think about yourself as a leader. What's your strategic position in life? What are you researching and developing to create more self-awareness and energy for yourself? Where's the love of the game? And don't take yourself too seriously.
I think that's great advice for everyone. I just love the passion and energy that you bring to this discussion. We definitely are going to ask you to come back and chat with us more. Bill, any closing thoughts for us?
No, I think, you introduced me to servant leadership a long time ago, and I have to be very, very honest and say I didn't really understand it from the get-go. Maybe I'm just one of these old traditional kind of guys that, did it differently, but I'm learning. I'm still learning. So I love your approach, Anthony. I think that's tremendous. So kudos to that. So, as Robin says, we'll look forward to having you back again.
Well, thank you both, and congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you very much.